those conversations are about how to pay the debt, isn't it?
Yes, Chair.
And how to deal with interest and how to deal with penalties.
Yes, Chair.
Because I believe that probably 60% of that debt is interest and penalties. So,
yes, Chair.
And yet, we cannot tell you to go and waive the interest on it. Because if you waive interest on it, the employee is not getting value in terms of a sufficient pension. So it's something that it requires a national conversation in as much as we are doing it directly. And I think that the chair of COG at some point had indicated that governors wanted to engage the Senate to find a solution to this problem. We are open and ready and willing to have that conversation so that we can secure a future for our employees. This one is not just another accounting entry. This is about the people who have worked for our county governments. They need to retire. Some you need to downsize. You need to reduce the numbers, but you have nothing to pay them once they leave the organization. Now, members, is there any other matter here that, because all the other substantive issues you have responded in writing, and I hope you have done a good job so that when we are making our recommendations, we are making recommendations on the basis of the evidence that you have submitted. So that was for the county executive report. I think we shall adopt your written responses. We'll very, very quickly, under the receiver of revenue report, which talks about the revenue you are raising. Governor, we have seen your revenue has grown. On source revenue, you reported it as 2.1 billion. Was it 2.1 billion? Who's the receiver of revenue?
Yes, yes.
Is the receiver of revenue in the room?
The receiver of revenue is here. The chief officer is here.
So 2.1 billion.
Yes.
That grew from 1.6 billion.
Yes, Chair.
That's a growth of 500.
500.
Over 500 million.
Yes.
Over 500 million. But all that growth comes from hospital fees. Because hospital fees grew at 552 million. Machakos is not just any other county. Machakos is a bedroom of Nairobi. Machakos is a rich county. Many of us here live in Machakos or do business in Machakos. I'm a bit surprised that Machakos, even if the growth came from hospital fees, could there be a problem here, Governor? If you compare even what you're collecting in hospital fees, even if you are to compare with a county like mine, Homa Bay, you know that Homa Bay has grown largely because of hospital fees, but we seem to be collecting more. And yet, we know that perhaps people in the formal sector, people, even the middle class lives in Machakos. Are these numbers, for example, for the 2.1 billion, what was the budget? What was the target for the financial year?
The target was 3.1. Sorry, the target was 3.9 billion.
3.9 billion, which sounds quite.
Okay.
Machakos, Kiambu, which is another bedroom of Nairobi, is at 5 billion. 5 billion plus. Yeah. So 3.9 sounds like it, but you're only doing 2.1. What are the systemic challenges to achieving the 3.9?
Chair, it's also very important for you to have the historical where we started from. With the hospitals, the first year we collected about 30 million.
30 million?
30 million.
Why? You are offering treatment for free?
We computerized, and when we computerized, we went to over 230 million. The second year, we went to over 700. And again, our hospital revenue goes up because you have people coming from the surrounding counties also, apart from Machakos County. We have people coming from Makueni, we have from Kajiado, from Nairobi. When there are strikes in Nairobi, people move to Machakos. That is how our revenue has also gone up, and also the good services that we provide. And also the system, and also we have computerized our revenue collection.
Governor, allow me, Chair. Governor, again, yes, there is an influx of patients from surrounding counties into Machakos hospitals. I know actually from my county you receive a lot of patients. For revenue, maybe that's a plus for the county, but in terms of depleting medical supplies, then it's a minus for your county. Now, I wish we would just stick to the question that the chair is asking, that there is a target of 3.9 billion that we are set to achieve for on-source revenue, but you have only managed 2.1 billion. What is the challenge? Is it that you had estimated your capacity to collect, or what really could resorted to that drop from 3.9, which is a target, to 2.1? There's a difference of what? 1.8 billion.
I have my CEO for revenue. You can answer that.
As you answer, maybe tell us what you collected in the previous year as compared to 2.1 billion in this year under consideration. Okay. And then when you are projecting, you don't project on nothing. What did you think you had done differently to allow you to move to 3.9 billion? What are the challenges?
Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I'm CP Otieno, Chief Officer Revenue. Chair, allow me just to take you back on the previous analysis. Since devolution, the highest on the 10 years of the first governor, the highest revenue that was collected was 1.4 billion. Now, since the administration for governor came in, the first year it was 1.4. The second year it was 1.5. Then the third year, which is last year, it was 2.1. Chair, we appreciate that we have a potential based on. And just to add, Chair, as at 11th, the county has collected 1.9 billion as at 11th of this month. The remaining month in the history of the counties are the wet months. So based on the what we have put in place, we anticipate to get additional of 1.5 billion, running to 1.5 billion for the remaining 4 months, that is, this month inclusive. So we anticipate to close at slightly more than 3.1
No, I think
billion.
You've gone further than where we wanted to go.
Yes.
You see, as a Senate, we like to take a policy perspective to issues. So when I look at your receipt of revenue statement, there's a statement of comparison of budget versus actual amounts for the year that then illustrates what we are trying to find out. So for example, under cess, you had a target of 831 million, but you only collected 221 million. That was 27% of your target. What was the basis for projecting 831 million as money you're going to collect on cess? Because it's not abracadabra. I'm sure there has to be a method. There has to be a thought process that this year we can collect 831 million in cess. Just take us, what was the thought process? Because you have taken this to the public participation. You have told them we are collecting 831 million in cess. Then you collect 221. Does it mean you collected and pocketed? Or does it mean that there was something, some natural disaster that prevented you from that collection?
Thank you, Chair. Some is caused by some natural attrition that is beyond us. And when we just speak on cess, Chair, sometimes when we have a lot of rains, like what we experienced in the past few weeks, and we experienced it during this year, some of our roads are impassable. We rely on...
Don't be speculative, because that's a period that has passed. So just tell us, this happened, this happened, this happened, and then you'll make our life easy.
Let me try to help. You know, I'm a neighbor in Machakos. You know, the question, Governor, is a very simple question. The projection was 3.9 billion. That's what you wanted to collect. Remember, we are not dealing with 25, 26. We are dealing with 24, 25. We are dealing with the past, not the future or the present. We're dealing with the past. So you had projected 3.9 billion. You collected 2.1 billion. The question that the chair is asking, the committee is asking, what challenges did you encounter that you did not realize your projection, or did you over project? That's a question that is being asked here.
Thank you, Chair. The closure of Ngelani quarries due to non-compliance with the mining regulations significantly affected the county revenue performance during the financial year 2023-2024, in financial year 2024-2025, and the year 2024-2025. Ngelani quarry, located in Machakos County, is one of the county's primary quarry sites and contributes substantially to overall generation of revenue. Consequently, the suspension of operations resulted to reduced output levels and negatively affecting the revenue generation during the affected financial periods.
What was the target for quarrying in your budget?
831.
831 was overall CES, because CES has got
CES has got to do with quarries.
Four components. It has 4 components. There's farm produce, there's quarrying, there's livestock, and there's sand gravel.
352 million.
It was 352. That was a target.
Yeah.
And then you actualize 118. Is that the case?
Yes.
You actualize 118.
Yes.
So that still does not really account for that gap of 610 million. And you see, Governor, by the way, it's not a trick question. We are just trying to bring out the things that your officers must explain to you and to the people. When we dealt with Kitui, the governor sitting there realized that there's a problem. When we went to the sand cess in Kitui and saw what was being reported, and divided by the amount charged per truck, it looked like only 5 trucks were being charged in a day. And the governor undertook to go back and do something about it. So this is a conversation that is supposed to open our eyes. It's not supposed to put anyone in problems. That if your officers tell you that it was because of closure of that quarry, that only accounts for 200 million. There's another 400 million that was budgeted and not realized. Was it collected and pocketed, or there was another factor that led to that drop?
Chair, thank you. Chair, we are cognizant that there are measures that were not put in place, for instance, remapping of our revenue centers. CES does not only come from quarries, but we also have revenue spots as revenue centers along the highways. That is the barriers. So we've so far make sure that we've done the remapping, and we've closed on all the panya routes that are around Machakos. And that's why we are anticipating now this year to get it further. So this could have contributed to the unrealization of the money from CES.
Another one which maybe some of us here in the room pay is land rates. Is Syokimau in Nairobi or in?
It's in Machakos, Chair.
Is Katani in Nairobi?
It's in Machakos, Chair.
Mlolongo?
Machakos.
So you might find that half of the people in this room are paying land rates to you faithfully.
No, they don't. And they don't. And maybe I need to check everybody.
Okay. Now, on land rates, you had a target of, on land rates, you previously collected 304 million. You previously collected 304 million. And then in this year, you collected only 181 million. So it dropped by 68%, 123 million. Now you see land rates now, you can't say that climate change, the land disappeared. The land is still there. So how do you explain a 68% drop in land rates? And I think, again, as I said, I'm raising this so that we can get an explanation, not just for the Senate, but for the people who pay land rates in Machakos.
Chair, allow me to intervene and respond, because when we are preparing this response, I get factual information from the technical officers and CEO revenue. And they are the people on the ground, so they can at least give me facts on the reasons why we end those challenges. It is true that in financial year 24-25, rand rates, we collected 181,168,967. And this year, 80 months, we have collected 247,532,429. So you can see there is that spontaneous increment. What was the reason why
you are highlighting the problem.
You know,
so
Chair, through the chair, we have a reason.
I'm proceeding now to give the reason.
We have a reason.
Fine.
Now, the reason was this.
Let's hear.
Yeah, the reason was this. In financial year 23-24, towards the end, there was introduction of a new system, Machape. And this system was to ensure now we transition 100% from the old ways of collecting revenue to the new one. So what we end in around January to March, whereby we do collect a lot of money, we faced what we call temporary disruption.
In 23-24.
24-25, January, somewhere there. That is when the system was introduced, Machape. And we faced what we call temporary disruption, whereby the system, as we were guiding the officers to understand it and the likes. Some even logged more than several times, and even the governor was a little bit worried why they were logging more than that. Some even were suspended, but eventually we integrated the system to Kayalewa the challenges, and even they came back. So the challenge was that system. But now they have understood it. We have seen the challenge with the land rate, and we are picking. When
land rates are not paid, they remain in arrears.
Yes.
So it does not disappear.
Yes.
It should not disappear.
It doesn't disappear. It is in arrears.
It remains is it called a receivable? It's accrued.
Mr. Chairman, it becomes a receivable.
It becomes a receivable. So when will we see the effect in year 2?
I think, Chair, what I would tell you, and what I see a lot of people are waiting for, was the valuation roll. And Machakos had stayed for a long time without a valuation roll, which you already got it now, passed in the county assembly, and it's kicking on the 2nd of April. So that brings everyone to pay the current rate. So we are going to see an upsurge, because the interest and all that with the new valuation drop, they get.
Yeah, I think
they get. So we'll have an upsurge.
There we agree. You'll obviously face political challenges. I know Kiambu tried it, and then all of a sudden rates shot up, and then governors wanting a re-election don't want an uprising. But I think that's a positive one. But let's deal with this thing of Machape and that transition, because it looks like Machakos therefore lost money in the last financial year.
Machakos did not lose any money, Chair, because Machakos did not lose any money on land rates, because the figures are still there. and people have, even if it's the principal, they still have to pay the principal.
That is only, that match pay was not only for land rights. What about the other revenue streams?
Yeah, and that's why if you come to parking fees, it dropped by 21%. So that's a demonstration that there have been loss as a result of the transition. Because the numbers here, Governor, prior year you collected 162 million as parking, and then the year under review you collected 133 million, leading to a drop of 21%. Now, that sounds like a loss because parking fees are not accrued, unless that's how we are treating it now. Senator Ogwa.
You know, there could be the argument that the money will still be collected, but let's also face it, that it was not collected when it was supposed to be collected. Time value for money. Yeah. Somebody may want to ask, I mean, the reason why you buy a new system is to enhance efficiency, right? To collect more in a more efficient way. How much do you spend on this system? Do you have an idea, Governor, how much you spend on the system?
I have my ICT chief officer.
How much do you spend on it?
The ICT chief officer.
How much you spend, chief officer?
Through Chair, we spent nothing on the system.
You cannot have spent nothing. Even the people that were developing it, surely. You are paying them a salary or something.
I think that is not an answer that should go through a governor whose background I understand to be in information systems. You can't spend nothing.
How can you spend nothing on the system? No wonder then in that case, if you want us to take that route, then chief officer, then we will take that route. Then we will say, then cheap is expensive. If you spend nothing, no wonder then you are losing money on a system on which you spend nothing.
Well, you can't spend nothing. You have to pay for licenses, you have to pay for hardware, you have to quantify the time. So that is a political answer. I think let's be a bit professional.
I think, Chair, what he needed to say, that was software, and I think he needs to make himself very clear on that.
Okay, can you give us an answer that takes into account that we understand that subject matter?
Thank you so much. So on the software, actually we did spend nothing. Then on the hardware, actually we implemented on the existing, that is hardware which we already had.
Are you an IT professional?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am, please.
What makes you consider yourself an IT professional?
I understand, first of all, on the software perspective, understand the development processes.
What's a qualification that makes you an IT professional?
I have a master's in data communication.
In data communication?
Yes.
So you spend nothing on software?
Yes, we did not buy the software, yes.
What software are you using?
MatchAPay currently, please.
It's an open source software?
No, it's not an open source. I've been developed using .NET.
Well, that is you're talking about the application.
Correct.
It runs on a database. It runs on an operating system.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
The hosting environment, you built that also yourselves?
No, the hosting environment, we are the ones who actually host it. We host it.
Governor, I think for the record, I understand that space.
Yeah.
There is no way, even if you're using open source software, you're going to host an industrial scale application like this without spending something. It runs on hardware.
Correct.
It runs on software.
Correct.
It runs on an operating system. Even if it was Linux, even if it was open source, first of all, I would not, in as much as I'm an advocate for open source, but you must have certain enterprise support for something of this scale. So you might want to look very good that you spent nothing. If you are running this using online open source tools, then you're running an amateur application. There are certain things around security, there are certain things around hosting environment, the operating system, the databases, the audit trails and all those things that will cost you some money. But if you have done all these things online, like a high school or a university project, then this is a system that needs a thorough system audit. In fact, to avoid, because we had agreed we'd be done with this meeting by 3:30, I think I want the Auditor General to do a system audit on this, because we have been told that when it was rolled out, there was a drop in revenue. A system should not, actually ideally a system, when you introduce a new system, you should see a spike. Otherwise, you're going to end up with the conclusion that there's an inverse relationship between automation and revenue growth. So I do not agree with your officer that you can run such an industrial or enterprise solution without spending something on it, because even the people, there's something called man hours, the programming time, the development time, that can be quantified. But for us not to haggle too much, I want the Auditor General to do a systems audit, and then we'll leave it at that point. Is that fair enough?
That is fair. But Chair, I just want to make clear, maybe what he was saying was the software. Yeah, he should have made himself very clear on the other issues.
Yeah, so I think let's leave it at that so that it's not protracted. Now, Governor, so you can clearly see the questions that you must ask your receiver of revenue, so that when you are coming here, you can explain it to us well and explain it to the people of Machakos. Perhaps the greatest pain is a pain of a market woman who pays money to county employees, and then that money does not find itself in the books. There's a way Kenyans feel like you'd rather steal the money from Nairobi, but not the money from the county. And this report should be able to give us a picture so that we have no doubt whatsoever. But I think your officer has indicated that introduction of the system led to downtime, disruptions, reduction in revenue. I think we need to do the audit to confirm that that was the case.
Yeah, and one thing I want to make it clear to you, Chair, is that we found we don't do cash collection in Machakos County. Everything we do is paid through the pay bill. And so there is no, the people from the market, the women from the market, or anyone losing money. No. There is no cash collection in Machakos County. We have the 1616-1 for the general pay bill number. We have 1616-0 for, and also we have for health, and we also for matatus. So we have 4 pay bill numbers. The 4th one is for the water. So no cash collection in Machakos County, and we have made that very clear to our people. So I don't, the citizens of Machakos don't lose money by giving people cash.
Okay, fine. So I think the rest of the issues that have been raised under the receiver of revenue report, I hope you have responded to them comprehensively to enable us to do our written responses. Is there any other matter that you'd like us to emphasize? Governor, is there, because I'm saying that since you have tabled your responses, we don't have to go through each issue. Is there any issue in this report where you think that we need to emphasize? Or we can just proceed with the written responses?
I think we can proceed with the written responses.
Fine. Auditor General, is there any comment with regards to set expectations from Machakos? Are they cooperating? Are they responding? And having looked at their nextures, maybe globally, how many issues in your consideration can be considered closed?
Chair, 4.
Only 4 out of?
Yes, out of 17.
Out of 17.
Then we had those that were partly addressed, 9.
So 4 are resolved, 9 are partly addressed. So that leaves us with 4 that are completely outstanding.
Yes.
Okay, so we shall follow up within 60 days to ensure that those matters are closed to the satisfaction of the Auditor General and to the satisfaction of the Senate. Unless there is any other matter from the senators or from the governor, I think, Governor, we commend you for taking time as required of you by the Constitution to come before the Senate. I hope that the two issues that we have discussed globally will trigger some attention on those two areas, pending bills and on source revenue, because you said your solution to pending bills is to improve on source revenue. And yet we are seeing that there are still some challenges in terms of on source revenue. So please, as you go back, you can prioritize that. I believe the members of the audit committee were also here. You said you are holding forth, or you are the chair of the audit committee.
Chairman, the chair was not able to attend the meeting.
Yes.
So I'm a member of the audit committee.
You have approved the charter, the internal audit charter?
Yes, we have approved that.
In your view, is internal audit and audit arrangements effective and functional in Machakos?
It is effective and functional, and we are proposing a few adjustments to the management to make it more empowered.
Maybe you should have said to make it effective.
Yeah, to make it more effective, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Fine. At least as far as that control is concerned, now we have an audit committee in place. We hope that you're going to add value to the governance of Machakos County.
Maybe auditor, whom do you report to? Whom do you report to?
Thank you, Chair. I report to the audit committee.
Okay. I thought you were a member of the audit committee.
Of course, I'm the secretary, and
Yes.
I report to the audit committee. Functionally,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so OAG, you I think look at the effectiveness. It's one thing to gazette an audit committee, to have a charter, to have an internal auditor, but it's another thing to be effective.
But we'll do that, but please allow me to say that the officer there representing the chairman of the audit committee has a long outstanding experience in the office of the Auditor General. And I've had a discussion with him even before this meeting, and he's well versed in the matters required in this profession. So we have a lot of trust in them, and I believe they're going to do the right thing.
Maybe, Chair, to the Governor, do you consume the report also from the committee? Do you engage with them?
Yes, through the chair, I consume the reports and I try to make then whatever necessary changes need to be made through the departments.
Okay, fine. I think we shall leave it at that, and unless there is any other observation, we shall leave it at that and commend the Governor for taking time to have this conversation with the Senate, which is, as you said, you acknowledge is a constitutional obligation, an institutional obligation, and an individual obligation. And I hope that from the mood of this conversation, other governors will have the will have the confidence to appear before this committee, because we do not engage in witch hunt, we do not engage in malice, we do not engage in blackmail. We deal with things as they are and as they are presented by the Auditor General. And our greatest concern is for devolution to work. As we said at the beginning, kazi yetu ni kulinda katiba, kazi yetu ni kulinda ugatuzi. That's why the Senate exists. So with that, the meeting is adjourned. The Senate meets again on Monday at 9:30 a.m. We wish you a safe journey back to Machakos.